So here you have a question which uses a 30-degree angle and a hexagon. It's from the 0445 specification, October-November 2023. So the question states, a warning sign is shown below. So you've got the sign there, it's quite clear. Complete a full-size drawing of the warning sign in the space provided on the right by adding the outer square. So you've got this outer square 160 by 160, half hexagon, so you've got it here, the camera, this section, the bracket arm, this section here, and the missing letters CCTV. So you've got the letters here. So starting with the outer square, so it's always good to start with something that's easy. If you're not sure, it gives you time to think. And in this question, you're going to have to use your 30-degree set square. So you've got your 30 and 60-degree set square. So extending those lines and then just measuring 160 in either direction along the line you've drawn. This is quite a quick question, so that's not extended enough because it's quite a big square. So extending that up and measuring 160 here, and then drawing your vertical and your horizontal, and just making sure that it's easier with these long lines that you go off. So from there, we've done that, the outer square, the half hexagon. So we know if this was a full hexagon, so this is your full shape, it says it's 60 AC. AC is a cross corner, so it's from corner to corner, that's 60. So using the compass method, we know half of that is going to be radius 30. So getting a compass and setting it to 30, and you can draw it. It's quite a quick way of doing it. And we know our centre line, I've given you your centre of that shape there. There's a lot of centre lines to guide you. And from that point there, marking up, because we know the point starts here on the edges. And from there, marking up, we can then complete the hexagon by filling this in and joining the points that you've made. So there we've got the half hexagon. So we've got, seems natural to go for the bracket now, even though it says the camera's next, but we can go through, you can do either way. But it seems that it's a bit in the air. So let's start with the bracket here. So your bracket arm, you've got this thickness here is 10. You've got your centre line here. So if you're using your centre line, it's going to be half of that, which is 5 either side. And I'm going to mark it on this vertical because it's there, makes life easier. And then from the edge of the circle to the hexagon, just draw in your line using your horizontal. And then you've got this part here, which is again 10, and you've got your centre line. So half of 10 is 5, marking on the line because it's there. And it's important to use your set square on the horizontal to get that in. We don't know where this circle is, so I've just extended that up. So we've got this centre circle is here, and then you've got a semicircle which is radius 15 off the side, and this isn't in the centre of the circle, it's just there. So we need to use this side as our guidance, and it says that's 30 degrees. So this is where your set square comes in, because you've got your 30 degrees, and if we put it the other way, you've got your 60. So that's going to help you in drawing this. So extending that along, and I've got my centre point, and it's radius 15. So setting my compass and popping that onto the line, using that point and drawing half, and then the other half, that's complete. So that's the bracket, and then we've got the camera. I've got one side, and we know that distance is 90. So marking 90, and using the set square, you can, at 60 degrees, you can put those two sides in. And we know this distance here is 40, so marking along 40 and using the set square at 30, you can draw that line. So here we have a rectangle and the end. So the rectangle is 10 by 20, you can see here, that shows you that distance. So it's going to sit on here in the centre. So you can either just measure in from the side, we know it's 20, we know this is 40, so it's going to be 10 in from either side, or you can do the centre. I tend to like centres because it just gets everything in the right position. So I'm going to mark 20 there, and I'm going to mark 10 either side. And using the set square, I can extend these lines along. It's not very much, it's only 10. And I can mark 10 here. And using the set square, 60 degrees, I can mark that. So now we've got to do this end part here. There's no measurement for that, but looking at the drawing, and this is where the visual problem solving comes in, you can see that it's in line with the outside, which we've already drawn, so I can extend those along. And this distance here is 15, so I've got to go 10 and then 15 to draw the end. So I can mark out 10, we know that, and then 15. You could just mark out the full measurement. Then using the set square at 60 degrees, I'm drawing the end. And then from there, it's just going to join from that point, there's an angle. So from there to the outside, one, and then the other side. So now we've got the lettering to do. It's always a good idea to draw in some guidelines for the top and the bottom, definitely. And then maybe some verticals to give you some, you want to know how wide these letters are and how thick they are. So I'm just going to do that just to get an idea. It's only 2 marks, and your marks are both added with some thickness, both letters correct and in proportion. So the letters are, from here, about 19. So just have a look at the other one. Yeah, it's about 19. So I've got 42, so I need to fit. It's going to be only about 1 millimetre. Then mark out 19. And then 1 millimetre, mark out 19. It's a bit much, so maybe the distance here is a bit more, so try 2. So it's just giving you some guidance. And 19. And not much, I'm just going to fit it in a bit. It's just a rough guess. And then draw in some verticals to give yourself some guidance. So I've got there, and then I've got 2 here. The T is probably the easiest to do because we've just got a vertical to do. How thick are these letters? They're about 4. So I'm going to measure a midpoint here, and I'm going to measure 2 millimetres either side. This is probably being too exact. And I know the thickness is the same as that, so I'm just going to use that and just draw that there. So you've got your T. The C, it's going to fill that space, and you've got to finish. There's a slight angle there, so I'm just going to mark that on the outer side, and then I'm going to mark an angle in here. And we know it's 4 millimetres, so I'm going to use this thickness here as my guide. And just draw the circle in. You could use a compass. Looks quite exact actually. So if you want to be exact, you could just find the centre. It's probably more than you need to do. You could just sketch it by hand. And then draw it. But using a compass can be a bit tricky when it's just a small radius. And doing the bottom. Personally, I would do it by hand, but it depends how confident you feel with that. And you know it's going to be here, so I'm going to do the other one by hand. I know it's that thickness. An angle there. I'm just going to try and keep it the same thickness all the way around up to the points I've marked, and then that's at a slight angle, and there you've got your lettering complete.